Hello, everybody. Welcome to our 2023 Roundtable discussion with some of this year's scholarship recipients. We're excited to have each one of you on this call with us today. We're hoping to learn a little bit more about you and where you're going to school and your history with model aviation and the AMA, and just get to know more about you. So I'll start by introducing myself, and then we can kind of go around. My name is Austin Purley. I have been with the AMA Foundation since 2019, where I started out part-time with the foundation, and I am now contract work with them. I work full-time with the foundation. My title is the Digital Engagement and Development Specialist. So all of our emails, social media stuff, that's kind of me planning and getting all of that pushed out, as well as working with donors. So I'll leave it to Steve and Rachel to kind of introduce themselves now.
Rachel, please.
Hi, I'm Rachel Hahn. I'm the donor and program specialist for the AMA Foundation. I've actually worked for AMA since 2011. I started out in the publications magazine department, and then I switched to the AMA Foundation in the fall of 2022.
Okay. Hi, I'm Steve Haston. I'm the foundation director, and I just want to start by saying congratulations to you scholarship recipients. How exciting is that? And how exciting it is for us that we can play that little role in helping you, pursue your educational endeavors. So I commend you for all your work you've done. I also want to thank our donors who really make that possible, that we have the ability to help fund your scholarships and to help you, go on and do great things in the world of STEM and whatever endeavors that you do pursue. So, thank you. And thank you for being here.
Yeah. Austin, do you want to kick us off, and we'll let the recipients introduce themselves now?
Sure. My name is Austin Ray. I have been flying for about 9 years now. Got my AMA membership shortly after. I'm currently attending Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona, pursuing my aerospace engineering degree.
Whoever wants to go next?
I can go. I'm Ashley. I started flying so my dad, Tim Van Milligan, he owns Apogee Components. And so he started us flying from a young age, but we got into like FAI competitive flying, I think in 2014. So I've been flying since 2014, and then I've flown every other year at the competitive international event and competed with that. And so I'm at UNT, University of North Texas, where I'm studying biomedical engineering.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Owen. I'm at Cornell. Cornell Engineering. I started flying when I was in first grade. At that point, neither of my parents were at all involved in radio control. I just had an avid passion for flying things. And so I went to a club near where I lived back then in Mechanicsville. And then there was a hiatus briefly from the hobby. And then I sort of picked it up as a hobby during COVID. And I've been flying ever since. And I've also done a lot of 3D printing with my aircraft and a lot of stuff. And I've been active ever since then, and in my club in South Bethlehem, New York, the Flying Knights. So yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you. As Steve said, I'm glad you're all here, and just want to congratulate all of you again for receiving a scholarship this year. So we're just kind of going to go through some questions here to get to know each of you more. But Owen, you kind of touched on it. You kind of picked the hobby back up during COVID. And that was, a big time in everybody's lives. We weren't supposed to go out and do much or be around people. So I think a lot of people flocked to the hobby again. How did that reinvigorate your enthusiasm for the hobby? Same with Austin and Ashley, if you want to jump in. Did it give you something to do, or how did you feel that time?
Basically, it was up until that point, I had a flight simulator, and that was most of my time through middle school. I mean, and then COVID happened, and I had my old, like Super Cub S from like 2012, and so it was like I had that. I was like, this isn't gonna fly. It was broken, but I've discovered this YouTube channel, actually, Flight Test. They do a lot of really cool outreach and cool stuff. And it was that, and I basically built a foamy myself in my basement. And yeah, that was my entry back into it. And of course, since most of this was at first something I really was doing by myself, and I didn't know anyone who's really established in the hobby, it was sort of my impetus to go and reach out to my local flying club, and they've really, more than anything, like COVID was sort of like, for me, it was more of the spark. And then I sort of then was able to go to my flying club, and there I was really able to get into the hobby and really understand it. And my flying skills, dramatically, I got way better. And also, got into glow. Now I'm very much in sort of that vein, glow nitro engines, and stuff, and traditional balsa, when before, all I'd really known about was electric, which is actually really cool. And now I'm doing FPV, like drones, too. So,
Well,
yeah.
I have a question
Yeah,
for
sure.
here. With what you said, when you're playing the video games and stuff, with all of the distractions, not just video games, but with all the social distractions now that young people face, how did it impact you guys to get away from some of that and get outside and really kind of be hands-on and do something, tangible, other than, like the social media things?
Well, yeah, for me, the tangible aspect of this hobby is everything. I mean, it's amazing because you can really go and not only it's, for me, it's very much it's all that. It's, more than a video game where you could be controlling, you could be controlling a drone in a simulator, but it's nothing like real life, and it's not as satisfying too. And the
Sure.
ability,
Yeah. Yeah, that it is a challenge to do those. Ashley, you with FAI, do you do a lot of your building, and did that help you to move away from some of those things?
Yeah, but part of it was like an extra thing I did because, or at least that's how it started. Because I
yeah,
also like I dive, and so I competitively dive in college too. But I don't know how to word this correctly. Like it was a competitive aspect where I was getting to do it, and then that was something I got to do for fun. And so like model rocketry, it was like opened up all these doors for me because like I got the opportunity to travel and meet people from all over the world, which was like a big thing for me, is like getting to meet different people and experience different cultures and all sorts of things that like it brought me through FAI and AMA that I wouldn't have had before.
Sure. Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. I have a 2-year-old granddaughter, and I hope she does a similar thing. She does launch rockets with me, and it's such a thrill to see her get excited about that.
Yeah, and if I could just add one more thing, for me it was always like, I was involved in high school. I did ultimate frisbee and musical theater and a lot of other normal school activities and all of that. And this was sort of my way of going beyond just what I had in school, whether that be the sort of technical engineering aspect or the sort of aspect of just like competing or working on a project that was like, through school, and like just that sort of experience. And this was something totally out of it. And for me, it was an expression of myself and of my something that felt very unique to me as a young person in the hobby. And like I didn't know any other young people who were going and getting glow engines and building traditional 46 size balsa planes. Like that's so cool. And so it really, the independent nature of it for me, and just the tinkering aspect, and finding what like having that freedom really to embrace the hobby in any way you want is really the cool part. And something that's certainly a video game, you can never try that one thing or have the experience of repairing your plane that crashed and is broken in this exact way, and then you repair it, and like now it works again, but like it was that experience. And I mean there's just some things that are like everything is unique in real life in a way that a video game isn't.
Touch it.
Huh?
You have to actually touch it to know.
Yeah,
what
and
that feels like. And I think Austin, there you do some building too, don't you, Austin?
Me?
Yeah, Austin, right?
I wouldn't say I do as much building. I'm more of a pilot. I have built a few planes, but I wouldn't say I'm like amazing at it. For me, it's more of I can take a plane, go out and fly. Like for me, I have a cul-de-sac, so I can just go out, fly for as however long I want, and I can just get out of the house and do that. It's it's something nice that most other hobbies can't do.
Sure, absolutely. That makes me think of another question here, real quick here for the three of you, and maybe is there that collaboration between your clubs or you and others where I know somebody who's a super great builder, but they're not the best pilot, but I'm a really good pilot, but I'm not that good of a builder. Do you work with other people like that? Because that will kind of factor into your careers over your lifetimes too, where you have to, work collaboratively.
I personally have not done that before. I know I've done it, like two people have flown before where someone else flies a carrier plane, then I fly a smaller plane that's on top of that, and I fly it off of that plane. That was a fun experience. I did that both at Flight Fest Texas, and then I did it again in at Camp AMA, which was really fun. And then my school actually has a group called Design Build Fly. I have not been able to get a part of it because I've been busy with a lot of other classes, but next semester I plan to join them, where they have this objective they have to meet, and then they have a group of people that builds the plane and designs it. Then they have another flight team. I want to do my best to get on that flight team and fly the plane, because that's what I know how to do. I can fly, not as much build.
Nice.
I know for us, for like model rocketry and the FAI side of things, we have like weekly Zoom calls, and they'll like get together and we'll have so I fly the last team that I was on where we competed in Texas. I flew Screamer and helicopter, and we would like get together and talk about what was working for us and what wasn't working. And so like you get those ideas that you can bounce off one another, so that when we're out there on the field, we're like at the best that we can be.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think all of this whole conversation is it's very relevant, as Steve said, to your careers and every field that you're going in. In model airplanes, model aeronautics, you have to work with club members or other pilots that you're flying around, people who are building. And then in your career path, no matter where you go, you are going to be working with other people. How has just kind of expanding on Steve's original question, how has your model aeronautics experience, how are you expecting it to be able to help you in your future career?
So I know this actually has a specific reason that it reword that. I actually had an experience where I was talking to an employer and they mentioned that they needed people with RC aviation experience. there is a UAV. Our school had a career expo, and at that career expo, there was one employer in particular. I forget the name of the company. It's like UAV something. I need to go back and check. But when I talked to the employer, they were like, "Yes, we are looking for people that have experience with RC aviation and a UAV experience, RD pilot, anything under that category." And he pointed out that my 9 years of experience would make me, he'd pick me over anyone else that doesn't have that experience.
Wow.
Yeah, I know drone photography is a huge thing, and it's really cool to get into, and that's definitely something you can do either as your own sort of side, I don't know, side gig, I don't know, but like and even as a career. And but for me, the biggest thing is the STEM aspect and the hands-on aspect and the engineering aspect. And it's really, you know, it's like the amount of direction you can sort of give yourself and execute around. Okay, well, I have this, you know, my engine won't start, right? Or I'm trying to, I want to, um, like, let's say, I'm trying to research, maybe I want to print a part, a 3D print, like a part or a whole airframe, right? And thinking about, well, what can I, who could I ask? That's one thing. Like for me, going back to the club and the communication aspect, there's a lot of knowledge that's to be had, and a lot of, I think, very experienced people at the Flying Knights. But it was always, you also have to learn how to ask the right questions, not only for your own project. You need to ask, how can I improve this aspect of flying, or how can I repair that? It's also about knowing how to ask someone else if you need help. Like, you've spent over 20 years tinkering with glow engines. You gave me this glow engine. Maybe you can help me figure out what's going wrong with it, right? Like, sometimes it's like something I might have been like, trying to figure out on my own over a few hours. It's like, oh yeah, you can just do this, and it makes much more sense in maybe the span of 20 minutes. And it's just that preemptive, and the way you have to be very self-motivated and go and seek out and communicate very proactively too. And I think that's invaluable for your career, any sort of independent project. I might do research someday, get a PhD, and having that independent, sort of iterative way of going through a project and being like, this does work. This is who I need to ask for help. These are the tools I need to achieve this aim, even if they might be very different from the aim. Like, maybe I need to get good at computers in order to model this, or do that, or for me, it was get good at 3D printing in order to try this with my RC hobby. It was like, knowing how to pursue that independently is just so valuable.
Right. Yeah,
And like,
that's awesome.
kind of building off of what Owen said of like the STEM aspect, like I think most of us are engineering majors. I could be wrong, but like having
Yeah.
that and going into like we can problem solve, and we know how to problem solve. Like there is an issue and we can figure out how to fix it. And if we don't, like for me, model rocketry, it brought me a different community, and I've met so many people, and like sometimes there's communication barriers, and like learning how to overcome those and ask different people for help. It like was a big thing of like one year we competed in, I think it would have been Romania. It was following COVID, and I was the only like junior in our like lane. And so I needed help prepping something, but like the adults couldn't come in and help us just because of how the rules work. And so I would have to go over to another team and communicate with them to get the help that I needed. And so that was a big thing for me, is like I have communication skills that I can use along with the engineering aspect of things.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff there. I tell you that over this summer, I had an opportunity to go out on the flying sites, and I met NASA engineers, I met pilots, we met with military pilots, doctors, and artists,
Yeah.
just a whole host of folks who, you know, they're the ones that help to carry the torch that support your scholarships and stuff. You know, that there are donors, there are mentors. You know, they're giving their time, talents, and they're competing. So there was a lot of competition going on out there. So I have a question to you, for all of you. Where do you see your future, say in the next few years, in competition? I mean, with school, it's probably going to be a challenge, but do you still see yourselves competing? Ashley, you could, if you want to answer that, since you were
Okay,
in that.
so for me, it's kind of hard because it's actually like since COVID, because our last like competition was in the US, it's kind of blown up a little bit. So it's a lot more competitive than it used to be years ago. So like for me, it's kind of hard to get flying time and go back because I'm in Texas and I'm from Colorado. It's hard to go back to Colorado, make sure I can build everything and like fly it out. But I know that it's something I'll always want to come back to just because like I've had such great experiences with it and I've gotten to travel and meet so many different people that that's something I want to pursue and continue because like I might not always be able to do like all the athletics that I do, but I'll always have model rocketry to like fall back and like continue to do as I move forward.
Sure.
Yeah, for me, in terms of, I've never particularly been involved with competition through the AMA. I definitely, adding on to what Austin said earlier, there's also a design build fly team at my school, and I'm looking into joining maybe the piloting or business sub teams there, and maybe getting involved with them. And I believe the competition is in the same place as the AMA headquarters, so I could go see the AMA museum and their field and everything there, and that would be really
Come
cool.
and see us.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll say I've also never really done much competition except for last year. I went to AMA Nats. So that's like the one exception where I did glider flying. That was amazing fun with my dad. That was the best time I've had flying, just gliders, non-powered stuff. Other than that, I don't usually fly for competition. I just fly for fun because it is fun. It's stressful when you fly for competition, especially when it's like heavily competitive. But with AMA Nats and the trifecta, everyone there was really laid back. There was no pressure, which made it just fun to fly. I don't like flying when you're under pressure and you're like, oh, you got to do this in this amount of time, and if you're not, you lose. Like I didn't do great at competition, but I didn't care because I was having fun.
Yeah, I was going to ask you all, what has it meant to you to have an AMA scholarship?
For me, it's been like a super help, like getting that because I don't have to worry about like funding for some of the schooling because I'm an out of state, like I'm at an out of state school, so help with some of the funding. So I don't have to worry about having a job on top of getting my education done, which has been really helpful and not having to worry about that.
As Ashley said, also out of state school, and it's a private school. And Embry-Riddle's very expensive. So having the scholarship has definitely helped relieve any stress, most of the stresses with trying to pay for the school. I'll still have to do some work, but it's definitely lowered the amount of work I'm going to have to do in the future, where I can focus more on school than having to get a job and paying off my college funds.
Yeah. For me, it's definitely also great to be able to focus on not having to work during my time here and being able to I think of it really as a reinvestment in my hobby here, and being able to get involved with, let's say instead of having to balance a a part-time job, being able to do something like design, build, fly, or go into go into FPV drones, or travel for a competition someday, or even as seed capital for some company I may start someday. But it's really it's just, yes, it's a huge I feel it's an investment in me, and it tells me, stay your course and keep doing what you're doing, and just sort of, yeah, it definitely is also relieving of stress. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And while we're on the subject of getting your scholarships, do you have any advice for future applicants or future students that might help them throughout the application process, or just any tips like that to help?
For me, it was like, I don't really remember the application process all that well, but like, go out there, fly, have fun, and do what you do, because that stands out more. And like, it stands out to be all around well-rounded. So like, have your good grades, but also like, make sure you have time to go and build things, because those skills are going to help you at some point or another, whether you get the scholarship or you just have those skills that you can in your toolbox that you can put in a resume.
Yeah. My tip would be, take advantage of the high, or the absence of a word count, because I like to write. So I know I wrote a lot for those applications, just about the history of my model aircraft, and it's and also, just again, when you're doing any sort of application, just be honest. And it's about I mean, part of it's almost a conversation that, in lieu of a conversation, you could be having in person. And and so it's really, writing from your about something you care about, and something you've devoted time to. So write about the things that you've devoted time to, and not only put the most into, but what you've gotten the most out of. And that's where you should really focus. And of course, many things like, your other extracurriculars and your grades are great too. And definitely, if any sort of chance you get to connect it back to, and emphasize the overlap between, let's say, STEM and your science or engineering ambitions, and your modeling, day to day, connecting that too.
Yeah, I think both of those are very good tips. Whenever you're applying for something, you just want to be yourself, and present yourself as best as possible. And I think also mentioning, that this is your way of having a conversation with whoever's reviewing it. So, if there isn't a word limit, take advantage of that. Talk about yourself, because that's truly what's going to set you apart. So, yeah. Rachel, what else did you have?
I just wondered if you remembered how you reacted when you found out you were receiving an AMA scholarship.
I was like, wow, I'm not expecting that. Like, I was like, holy crap, Mom, the AMA like gave me all this money. That's amazing. And yeah, I was, and she was like, really? Like, the AMA? And I was like, yeah, like this email. I was like, and she was like, I think I lost track of that, and all the other applications for scholarships and for college applying to, they gave you money? I was like, yeah. And she was like, let me look. And then I was like, and she was like, wow, that's so cool. That's amazing. I know how much you care about this, and how it's, always been your thing. And like, I'm really happy for you. It was like, yeah, it was cool. It was a good feeling, for sure.
I know for me, I was like, I wasn't sure like scholarship wise, because I know a lot of the AMA is like RC based glider, like flying type of situation. And I don't do a lot of that. I do more model rocketry. Like in model rocketry, there is RC, but it's not like as relevant. So I was like, I don't know if I'll get the scholarship, but I might as well apply. And I got it, and I was like, oh my God, I got the scholarship. And it was like, I know we were super, like my whole family was super excited when we found out I got it, because that it like definitely helps like in my education going forward.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, oh, and again, you kind of touched on this, but your mom was there, and she was very supportive of it for both Ashley and Owen. How have your parents or grandparents or siblings or whoever, friends in your family, helped play a role in your experience with model aeronautics, and like how have they been your support system through all of that?
Well, my mom's always been great to talk to. We're very close. She provided the real estate. I have, the guest bed. What used to be called the guest bedroom in my house is has a bunch of model aircraft in it now, and they take up room. So it's like that's the room now, and I've got like a work table and the 3D printer and the aircraft to one side, like up against the wall, on the floor. It's chaotic. It's a little bit like, I'm sure it looks like mad science is going on there, but
I feel like a lot of
and
modelers can,
huh?
a lot of modelers can probably relate to that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And she's not in STEM herself, so it's like, I think it's all the cooler for her. But really, the biggest person who supported me is my my mentor at the field, Joe. He's been amazing. He taught me so much about flying, and is just a really cool person. And he's seeing how he has this not only like it's just an intuitive understanding of aircraft, but that it's been his passion, and seeing his his talent and his skill for that, and also just like, but then for me, it's like, as someone who's coming at it from very much the STEM and the math and science, and the I want to be an engineer someday, but Joe is a police officer, and so it's like, and he didn't graduate from high school, but like we have this shared understanding in RC planes, and in what the hobby means to both of us, and it's like just a connection I never would have had it not been for this hobby. And he's just a friend, and it's like, it's really cool to be able to have that, and just hear about someone who's not just in suburbs in Bethlehem, who's just like a bubble, like, and it's like, but he's had this different life, and but we can sort of connect, and he's it's again going back to how you're going to go through life and your career. You're going to have to interact with all sorts of people with very different backgrounds from you, and I think model aircraft gave me that relationship, and it was cool, and he's just been very, very helpful. So
I know for me, so my dad, he did a lot of the flying, and he got both me and my sister involved in it, and that was a huge thing. But like, originally, I don't think we were going to do FAI flying. We just did like the national competitions that we had like within our clubs, but we had talked to some of like the older, like I would have called them the old adults when we were flying, and they encouraged, they're like, you guys are good at flying, you should do this, like it's good, you'll get a lot of experiences, you meet a lot of people. And so we moved towards that, and my parents have been like so supportive in like making sure we have fun so that we can go fly. And like, I've always had that like support system of like, my dad was my mentor. Like a lot of the kids now, they like get mentors to them, but now he was my mentor, and he got to show me like, this is how you do this, because he never flew competitively. It was always me and my sister that flew competitively. He was just there to help and make sure we were there. And like my mom, she doesn't really know a lot about rocketry, but she was always there supporting us, like sitting at the lane, watching us fly, or helping us where we needed. So that was always really helpful. And I'm very thankful that both of my parents and my sister were big helps in my model rocketry.
Yeah, for sure. no matter what you do, it's important to have a support system behind you. So whether that is your dad and your family, or the people at your flight, at your site, it's always great to have somebody there cheering you on. So we're glad that both of you were able to have those good experiences, and that they're two different groups, so you can share those experiences as well, because not everybody is from the same place or the same area, so you also just get to connect with other people that way. Steve or Rachel, do you have any other questions? Steve, you're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry. A comment to follow up on that too is, who else supports you is the amazing donors from the AMA, and we do not want to lose sight of that they are there for you. I'm sure that if you ask any of them, they would give of their time and their talent just as much as they do of their their financial support. So that's one of the greatest things about this whole community, is how it all kind of brings everybody together and does so much.
Yeah. So just to catch Austin up real quick, we were just talking about how it's important to have a support system behind you when you're going through whatever you're doing. So for Owen, that was not only family, but people at his flying site that he could connect with. For Ashley, that was her family, her dad, and her mom that could support her time in model rocketry. Austin, for you, what did that support system look like? Who has been involved in your upbringing in model aeronautics?
My dad. It's just flat out my dad. He's been in it since his dad's been in it since basically the beginning of the AMA. My grandfather flew U control, and then my dad caught on. He's been flying for his entire life, and then he drew me into this. It's all his fault. It's been my dad and also my mom, because she also supports the RC aviation community. And it's just been really nice to have a fallback community you can go to and not have any issues. Like if I'm feeling down one day, just go fly. It's so easy. Pick up your plane and go fly.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Austin, how many airplanes were you able to fit in your dorm room?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Nice.
Yep. I made it a point that I needed to bring my planes, because I was not about to go to college without my planes. So I've got Icon A5, Aero Scout, which I put on a 4S. For anyone out there that has an Aero Scout, do it. It is fun. It is very fun, and everyone at the RC Club loves it. And then I've got a UMX Timber, a UMX Vapor, and a UMX F-27.
Yeah.
Cool. Are you guys flying down your dorm rooms or launching rockets in the dorm and anything like that?
I have flown the Vapor in a community area down the hall. And that's fun, because the only problem is there's vents in that room and it blows the vapor around. But when the vents are off, it flies amazing. I love flying that there.
Yeah. And having those there, people might see you flying and also want to, try it out, get involved in the hobby too. So you're not only enjoying what you love to do, but sharing it with other people.
I have already carpooled, I think, 3 people down to the flying field to let them watch.
Wow.
Nice.
And they said they definitely are interested in it. And I've got Real Flight on my computer, so if anyone wants to try it out, go fly. And I'll just load up Real Flight with an Aero Scout and let them have at it.
Yeah.
Nice. I have one more question here for each of you, if you just briefly answer this possibly. So with this scholarship and with the support of all of your family and your community and all that, where do you see yourself in, let's say, 5-10 years after you're through school? What major thing would you like to see coming out of your lives and what this has done for you?
I would say probably in some sort of aviation career that involves UAVs. Maybe it's flight testing for, I don't know, Boeing. Maybe they're coming out with a new plane design. So I'd like to be able to flight test that as a small scale test. Or UAVs for surveillance. Or maybe geographical mapping to get a map of the terrain. There's so many options, but something within that field would be nice.
For me, like, because I'm doing biomedical engineering, I want to be on like the design aspect, or like my goal is, I'm not exactly sure like which track I want to take. I know I either want to do like prosthetics or stem cell tissue, but like an ideal thing would be like working with NASA and like a lot of the things of like the effects on the body of going to space and things like that, and creating different products that'll help them and aid them in that. That's like my ideal goal. But I might be working on a master's at that point in my life, but I know that I would like to continue doing model rocketry and like being a mentor, because like growing up for me doing model rocketry, I didn't have a lot of kids my age competing. Up until recently, that wasn't a thing. And like, I want to see more young girls getting into it, because you don't see a lot of young girls doing it anymore. So,
Yeah. For me, one thing I'd like to try maybe in the next 5-10 years is real aircraft, getting a pilot's license, and as sort of expanding on into aviation. But my interest is definitely very much also in the biotechnology domain. Yeah, I see myself doing research, and I think for me it's always been, you could be what's going to do the greatest good in the world, what's going to you could be a doctor, and do be able to help or do surgery on or save the lives of maybe 50 people in a given amount of time. But like for me, it's like finding that work and that project that can go and reach thousands or millions of people, like and having the scope to pursue that, and really, I think when I imagine when I'm a PhD student someday, I'll probably be thinking about, oh yeah, me sitting here in my dorm room trying to crack this problem in genomics or whatever is a lot like me being on the bench trying to dissect this glow engine, right? And yeah, so, but I think it'll get far, and by then I will have really I'll have some cool footage from FPV. My drone's about to come in back in, and it's got a nice camera. It'll be really cool.
Cool. Yeah. As kind of a part two to that question, where would you like to see the hobby go in 10 years? Ashley, you brought in, you want to mentor young women to be in the field more. So each of you can answer in your own way. Some place that you would like to see the hobby be in 10 years.
I definitely see, for one thing, I see it as being very much something that could be more present on college campuses, and not just like design, build, fly, and is great, but that's very engineering focused. And I think this has appeal as something that can maybe, Cornell actually happens to be near an airport, which brings its own complications actually with the FAA and stuff. But it's also an advantage, maybe, let's say, building an aviation community or and a model aviation community on campuses that maybe don't have an airport or don't have design, build, fly. It could be something that's very much, you can give someone who's a particularly inspired the tools and the framework to just go out and have with their college get the okay to like have a space to fly and a field and all that, and have a club, because as a club, but flying more than just like flying fields that are very independent, as they often are. Like, for me, the Ithaca radio control is a ways off campus. Not a lot of people at Cornell have cars. I don't even know if the TCAT goes that far. So it's like it could be definitely something present on campus. And since a lot of that, oftentimes the friction there is with, someone being like, hey, are you allowed to fly this here? And with the backing of the AMA and sort of a club that's a school affiliated club. And that's something I'm even looking into here at Cornell, getting into. Like, it could be really valuable, and that's a great thing the AMA can do, is be the intermediate between the one or a few people who want to start this club but are and the college who's like, where are you going to fly this? And it's like, oh yeah, we have a plan. The AMA is doing insurance and all of that. It's great. That would be really cool to see.
For like model rocketry, I had a lot of like experience where I would like talk about it with somebody and they'd be like, that's a thing, like that's so cool. And so if more people know about it, the more likely they are to join it. And so like getting the word out about it and talking to other people, and like social media is a big thing right now. Like it could be used huge to promote model rocketry and the competitions that we get to do, because there's opportunities. Like I know for the juniors, there's opportunities that they'll help send you over, like pay for a little bit of your flight so you can get over there and fly competitively. But like no one knows about it and they don't have the experience or the funds, and it can be expensive. So like having those extra scholarships to pay to have them, or like to have a mentor, and like they're paying to help build parts, and so you can build the rockets, because rocketry is not cheap. But that is just something to look forward to, is like finding a sustainable way to get more people into the hobby.
Yeah.
I'd like to see all the bad stereotypes of RC aviation go away, because you have all this media stuff saying that, oh, it's all like these drone pilots are flying into people. It's like, okay, sure, there's a few people, but the rest of the community is just such a nice place to be. And I'd like that to all stop, so that people actually see the truth about the RC aviation community and the AMA, because there's just these little things that impress the public that, well, they put an impression on the public and makes it seem like everything's bad. It's like, no, literally RC aviation is what put us in space. I mean, think of the space shuttle. They had this RC 747 that took us into space, but nobody knows that. And I wish people did know that and realize how much RC aviation has impacted the lives today.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and more. I think one last thing is drones are a huge facet of this hobby that's being expressed, and they're a small form factor. And I think having the combination of traditional aero modeling background, which is very like very much it goes, and it's something you can do from the ground up, is really cool. And then you be like, it gets you asking the questions about, it prepares you very well for like being like, how does a drone work? Where am I going to fly? Like, I actually need a flight line, and to do like basic safety stuff, like, and not just fly my drone into, willy-nilly. Like I think it's very valuable to continue and to promote it among people who maybe their intro to this was not seeing someone fly a traditional, glow powered fixed wing aircraft. Maybe they saw a DJI drone, right? One of those drones that does the, that's primarily a aerial photography platform, and it's like, wow, and that's cool. Or they saw a video from it. It's like, I want to fly that, and it's like, well, yeah, and we can facilitate that, as the AMA can step into that too. And that's very much an untapped and growing part of the hobby now.
Okay, so it looks like we're kind of coming up on our time for today. I wanted to thank all three of you, Austin, Ashley, and Owen, for joining us on this call. But before we end this, I wanted to give each of you a few seconds to give a shout out to anybody you want, say thanks to anybody you might need or want to while you have this platform. So you can take turns going whenever you want.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to say a huge thank you to the people at the Flying Knights, and thank you to Joe Messina and Eric Williams in particular. You guys have been a huge investment in me and my entry and continuing with this hobby, and it's been amazing. And I'd also like to say a huge thank you to the donors who make this possible, and thank you. It's really an investment in me and an investment in this hobby, and I'm so excited to see where it takes me these next 4 years of college. I'm so excited. Thank you.
Kind of going off of what he said, thank you to the donors that give me the opportunity to go out and fly and invest in my future so that I can go where I want with my career in the future. But I also want to say thank you to like my family and all the people that have helped push me to be a competitor, but also have fun in the hobby and get to meet so many different people. And I'm extremely grateful for that.
I'd also like to thank all the donors for allowing me to get the scholarship. It has been a great help in pursuing my college career. And I'd also like to thank my family and also my dad, who is probably watching this. And I would like to thank him for just letting me be in the community for RC Aviation. Without you, I literally wouldn't be here at all. Probably wouldn't even go into this college because I'd probably not even be interested in RC Aviation.
That's fair. I'll go ahead and wrap this up unless Steve or Rachel has any last things that they want to say. Again, Austin, Ashley, Owen, thank you all for being able to hop on this discussion with us. It was really cool to get to know more about each of you and your background and how you've been involved in the hobby and where you're going to school. It's really cool just to see the impact that the AMA is able to have on our students. And I also just want to plug, if anybody watching this wants to contribute and support future scholarships, you can go to modelaircraft.org/donate, and you can give to the general fund or the programs fund. Both allow the foundation to support AMA scholarships if you would like to make an impact that way. But again, on behalf of Steve, Rachel, and the AMA Foundation and the AMA, we want to thank all of our donors who support our programs. Genuinely, the work that we do wouldn't be possible without all of you. So thank you, and we'll see you all next time.